Is Aldo Gonzalez.
And what's your position and the name of the organization?
I'm the Immigration Services Coordinator, and I work at Lucha, Living United for Change in Arizona. And for example, we've endorsed some candidates. They'll come in and they'll ask the candidate questions and they'll interview them, and then at the end they'll vote whether they want the organization to endorse the candidate or to go after a proposition or some kind of policy change. So it's a member-led, and it started in 2010 after SB 1070. So we're like a reaction of SB 1070. 1070 happened, and people in the community were scrambling to like try to stop it, but there was no real infrastructure to stop bills like that. And so that's when a few people got together, and then they created the organization, and then decided on the mission, on like what to focus on. The mission has, slowly been changing, but I think we found like what we are. We fight for racial, social, and economic justice. For years, our membership has been changing because we're focusing on other areas, like fair wages. Like fair wages affects everybody. Doesn't matter like the color of your skin or your culture. And then also our mass liberation program, try to stop people from being in prison for like petty little crimes, finding other ways of dealing with that situation. And so now we have a much more diverse membership. So we have Spanish speaking, we have Latinos, we have a lot of members from the Black community. We have people from all over the world. It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's a lot more diverse. That they find a home, or like a political. I've heard people use the term that this is their political home. Like the values that we have is the values that a lot of the community members have as well. They just never found a place where they can find those values. Like for example, if a person wants to learn about God or something like that, they'll go to churches and they'll figure out like which church has their values. Same thing with people in the community who are immigrants or they're struggling with something. They'll come here and they'll find that the values that we have are their values too. And once they come here, we have people who have been here for years and years, and it's a strong family, and it's home for them. And then when we take stances, they're there to back it up. We'll go to a protest, and we'll have 50-year-old moms show up with their signs and their kids, and they just feel that empowerment. They feel part of something, and it's not just like some random like group. It's like, oh, I'm part of that group, so they'll come and join. We have a few, but I think the most successful one is Proposition 206 in 2016. We spearheaded that campaign, and that's the one that raised the minimum wage from $8.05 to eventually $12 an hour. Funding is a pretty big one. We could do a lot of amazing things if we had more funding. That's always a barrier. And then right now, because we're in Arizona, like they consider us radical. There's a group called Patriot Movement AZ, and they call us like, oh, those leftists, those like communists. They've even showed up to our office, so we had to like get a, what do you call it? They can't come within a certain distance. Restraining order.
Restraining order.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's out there. There's a lot of like attacks online like that on us, and so we have to be careful about that. So for some people, it's a lot of stress, and they'd rather not like take pictures or be in certain areas. But it's becoming the new norm, and even our partner organizations, they are facing a lot of the same things. So that's been a big barrier. Another big barrier has been in Arizona, like for example, in elections, the community could potentially be registered isn't all registered. So then our opponents, they have an advantage when it comes to voting because they have a lot more people who can vote. But that's why we did that huge push of the voter registration. We registered 191,000 people this year. In 2016, we registered 150,000. So that's a big increase in our voter base. We're not we don't say we're Democrat or Republican, but most of the policies that we support, the Democrats tend to support those policies. So when we tell people about a candidate, we'll tell them about the policies, and then they get to decide who they're going to vote for. But most of the policies that we support, usually Democrats are the ones that support them as well. This year is an important year because we are really supporting David Garcia, who's running for governor, and this is the first time in decades where we'll be able to basically help elect a governor. Like we've worked in local races like school boards, like city council races, small city elections, but nothing like statewide. We have 3 offices now. We have one here, we have one in Tucson, and Casa Grande, and they're growing. And so this is a really important year because we might be able to take the governor's race. Several of our community members, community leaders, we're supporting them, and so we might be able to, elect some of those people too. So going from just protesting is like part of the strategy, but you also need to make sure you have your electoral strategy, and we're going to be electing people. Eventually, our members who just became citizens, eventually we want to have them run for office and win and represent our community.